Well, welcome back to the den. And today we are entering the field with a true pioneer of systemic healing. He is a global facilitator, a prolific author, and a man who has spent 25 years ensuring the language of the soul remains one of integrity and honor. Now, he was with us before on the show prior, and the demand from you, the listeners, was so great to have him back that we just had to sit down in the field together again. So please help me welcome Shavasti. It is an honor to be with you today. I am so grateful that you've taken the time to be here, and I'm just so grateful. So welcome back. And Shavasti, every time I sit down or even look at your YouTubes, right? Every time I sit down with you, the space settles. And so today, I want to talk about something that feels urgent
Mhm.
for the collective right now,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah,
that's called simplicity. So,
right.
we live in a world obsessed with,
Mhm,
oh, and I'm guilty as charged too here at sometimes
mhm,
as, overcomplicating healing, right?
mhm.
And
Right,
endless protocols,
right.
over
Yes.
intellectualizing trauma and moving forward and further away from the core. So
Mhm.
you have a magnificent gift for healing and keeping healing simple and direct and real. And that's where I want to go today with you because to kick us off, why do you think we as humans are so addicted to making our healing so incredibly complicated?
I'll answer that in a very straightforward way. Mhm. When we make things complicated,
Hmm.
it means that avoiding. We are avoiding. So
Oh.
too many words, too much description, too much explanation takes us away from the core feeling. And
Mm.
that core feeling could be, my mother didn't love me, or I am unlovable,
Okay.
or I'm a bad person. And so the work that I do really guides people towards the core. When we strip away all of the words, all of the complex explanations, what are we left with? We're left with a core feeling. So the first conversation we had,
Hmm.
was around that sentence, please just hold me. I think that's what we spoke about. Yes.
Right. Right.
One of the things that I spoke about. And it really is about that. So, very often when clients come to see me, they almost insist upon wanting to tell their story with every single possible detail.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
And when they explain with every single possible detail and they go into these long stories about their father, about their mother, their father's family, their mother's family, and then their sister, then their brother, etc. I listen to what they're not saying.
Mm.
So they're saying a lot, but I listen to what
Right.
they're not saying. Mhm. And very few people can just come into the healing room or into the constellation space and say, I feel lonely, or I feel unwanted, or I feel that I don't belong.
Mm.
And it takes courage to make statements like that and just to be in a public space and to say that, because what can come up is shame
Hmm.
or the fear that someone else is going to say, well, of course, nobody loves you.
Mm.
Who would want to love you? hmm Just from what I've seen of you in the past couple of minutes, I understand why nobody loves you. And so there's that fear. If I really name what's in my core, somebody might judge it or say something about it.
Hmm.
And so there's this a distorted belief that the more complex it is, the more intense it is, then the more healing that takes place. My experience is the complete opposite. It's the complete opposite. Mhm. So, family constellation work does lend itself to some complexity because we're looking at the family system.
Right.
But even then, even with that, when I ask clients, what happened in your family? They rarely answer that question. They
Really?
go into they go into a full-blown description of all the personalities in the family system.
Hmm.
They don't actually tell me what happened. And I read it back in and I repeat again. No, when I ask you what happened, I want to know about the incidences that occurred. What actually happened? Who died? Who left the family? Who got divorced? When did they get divorced? When did that child die? When did grandfather disappear and not come back? What actually happened? And
Mhm.
many people seem unable to hear that question. And even when I explain to them what the question means, they want to complicate it with a lot of story. Mhm. And
So,
so I've identified this as being an avoidance strategy. It's
mhm,
an avoidance strategy. So if I talk a lot, if I make it sound very complicated, that I don't actually then have to feel what's really there. I feel deeply unloved. My mother felt deeply unloved. And I think perhaps even my grandmother felt deeply unloved.
mm,
And that's a different statement. And that introduces a whole different energy, and it introduces a curiosity around, well, what happened in this family? hmm
right.
What
Exactly.
created this lack of connection? hmm What created this lack of kindness? What created this lack of affection in this family? And it always goes back to an event of some kind.
Mm,
That somebody at some stage was completely overwhelmed with what happened in their family. Mhm.
mm,
A grandmother or great grandmother, young, two or three young children, and her husband dies tragically in an accident. Or
mhm.
he disappears one day and doesn't come back. Or he gets called off to war and doesn't come back. And so she shuts down emotionally, and there's no space for her to truly merge in love with her children. And so that her children, when they grow up and have children, that then gets passed on, and then that gets passed on. Mhm. And so simplicity is the healing because we sit with what is without the explanations, Mhm.
Mhm.
without the descriptions, without the story,
Right.
without the personality descriptions. Mhm.
Yeah.
So for a moment or two, it's interesting to hear perhaps that your grandmother was very dominant. But I'm more interested to know, well, what happened to make her that way?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Precisely. Right.
What happened to make her that way? Because it's a compensation for something. Mhm.
Well, it's interesting, because it's exactly, the overcomplicating, right? And
Mm,
actually serving, as you say, it's a brilliant defense mechanism to keep us away from the real and the simple and to really feel.
absolutely.
That's it.
And that's why I also observe some constellators, particularly the less experienced constellators, setting up very complex and long constellations.
Mm,
And why are they doing that? They're doing that for a couple of reasons. One reason is they've bought into this idea, well, the client is paid, therefore I have to give them as much as possible.
mm,
Mhm.
right. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Or another belief system is, and they're not really giving the client more. In fact, they're giving the client far less
Right.
by doing that. Or they've bought into the idea that they are now the ones responsible for healing the entire family system.
Oh my.
And that if they can go back as many generations as possible and fix it, then they've done a good job. Mm. My
Yeah.
third option with that, because we've got two belief systems there interfering with that, the
Mhm.
third option, which is very common too, mhm, if I keep my constellation small and tight, where there's no distraction of all the drama of dozens of generations, then I, along with my client, I have to feel something. I have to look at what's right there, right in front of me.
Mm.
Sometimes the unspeakable is right there in front of us. Sometimes there's a pain that's so deep that it triggers our own pain. And so large, complex constellations can be an avoidance on the part of the facilitator not to have to deal with that,
Oh, okay.
that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. So it's almost like, in a way,
Whatever that might be. Mhm.
right, that, exactly, right?
Mhm.
So it's almost like the constellator as well gets trapped into the idea that healing has to be almost like a lifelong marathon of suffering rather than a simple radical turnaround.
Correct. Absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because, hey, if something was so simple, it can't be working, but
Mhm.
it can because it does, right?
Well, people often get addicted to the complexity, mhm, because some people are in avoidance of the core. They're really in avoidance of the core. Mhm. And the core could be, I am unlovable. That could be the core. I am unlovable. And who wants to go anywhere near that?
Mhm.
And who wants to go near shame, a deep sense of shame? And so if I tell my very complex stories, mhm, and then if the facilitator goes along with that complex story and
Right?
sets up a large complex constellation, mhm, then I can explain away all of my feelings, mhm, with some story that took place 3 generations ago. In saying all that, it's not that I never work with that. Of course I do.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
But I'm keeping track of the client. What is their motivation? Mhm. What is actually happening here? Because then I bring it back and I bring it back and I bring it back. I bring it back to the client. Because there are two ways of working. You're either systems orientated or you're client orientated.
Oh,
And I'm
please.
client orientated.
Okay, can you give our listeners an explanation for both?
Okay.
Thank you.
So the individual sitting in the chair next to you is the client. The system is not the client. So the focus is on the client always, 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 always. So when I'm working, mhm, so let's say I'm working with something that happened 2 generations back or 3 generations back, I'm constantly looking at the client. I'm constantly checking in with the client.
Mhm.
Because I have seen facilitators merrily going on and working with something 3 generations down the line, and they could be down there for half an hour.
Oh my.
And I've actually observed the client sitting in their chair, looking bored, disinterested, disconnected. How is that helping? How's that
Right.
helping anyone? That's certainly not helping the client. Mhm. And the facilitator might think that they've done a wonderful job,
Mhm.
but I can assure you they haven't. And so it needs to be client orientated. Okay. Does this have meaning for you? What's happening in your body?
Mhm. Mm.
How are you responding to this? Mhm.
Right.
Then there are those people who come with intrigue. What I mean by that is they turn up at a workshop and they'll say, "Oh, I heard this story that this and that happened to my great grandfather, and I'd like to look at that in the constellation." And I look at them and I say, "Well, why? Do you feel that you're entangled in the story in some way? How is it impacting you? What is your motivation?" And so sometimes it can become this hamster on a wheel. Let's just go round and round and round and round and round and look for anything and everything to try and fix anything and everything that is rather interesting to work with.
Mhm.
And a lot of it is simply not none of our business.
Right. Right.
If granddad's story or great granddad's story appears in our constellation, great, we work with it. And that's what can happen. But if you come looking for it, my curiosity is what's going on inside you? What is
Mm.
happening inside you right in this moment? What is so terrible? What are you so afraid of? What is that one feeling that you have spent your entire life running from that you now have to invent new and different constellations to do, thinking that that ugly, terrible, nightmarish thing inside you is magically going to go away without you ever even naming it.
Mhm. Mm.
So I see people doing that all the time. hmm
Wow.
hmm
So it almost becomes an addiction in itself, right?
It does. And
Mhm.
it might be that the root and the first domino in the line for this ugly, terrible feeling that we have inside us did start with great grandfather,
Right.
but that's not how we work. Mhm. So in the constellation, I'd set up the client and perhaps that terrible feeling, whatever it is,
Mhm.
and mum and dad, and I just look at the constellation, see where it goes from there. Mhm.
Right.
And the constellation will reveal it.
Yeah,
And
it
so we must always,
unfolds.
yeah, it unfolds, and we must always be curious about what is my motivation in this moment?
Mhm.
What is my motivation in this moment? And am I simply being curious? Or am I dabbling in affairs which are not truly my business? Which a lot of us do, by the way. Takes a long time to learn the difference between my business, your business, and the business of God or fate.
Yeah,
Whatever you want
right,
to call it.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm,
It
Yeah.
reminds me of that book, What You Think of Me Is None of My Business, right?
Yeah. What you think of me is none of my business. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
because it's so easy to use that even as a distraction, right?
mhm,
To keep the focus outside so that we don't
mm,
have to go
mhm,
inside and feel, I in my work too, I find that I work with women who are high achievers and they hold up the entire world and then their bodies suddenly, stage a complete rebellion through a health crisis or like say chronic fatigue. And looking through the systemic lens, what is the simple truth that their body is trying to say that their mind
mhm,
refuses to hear? Like what
mhm,
would be the simple truth?
mhm, mm. Well, in many cases, very competent, capable women have been taught that they need to earn love.
Mm. Oh, wow, yeah.
And so they're still doing it. Mhm. Whose feelings were more important than theirs?
Mm.
Did mum's feelings dominate the family? Did dad's feelings dominate the family? Did I have to avoid somebody all the time by being the sweet, nice girl? Or did I have to work hard not to upset somebody? Did I always have to make sure that their emotional needs were met first before mine? Mhm.
Mm.
And so that then becomes a pattern of taking care of everybody else before we take care of ourselves, before we even know that we even have a need that can be expressed.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right.
There are so many people that don't even know what they want or what
Oh.
they need because they've never asked themselves the question. They didn't start in childhood. Nobody asked them as a child, what do you want? What do you need? They were told. Mhm. Or they were told, don't upset your mother. Don't upset your father. Mhm. And so they've had no practice. It's not been built into their system to value their own needs. And so they become exhausted, utterly exhausted. Mhm.
Mm.
So back to simplicity being the healing,
Mm.
that also comes out in the way in which I use and employ healing sentences
Mhm.
as short and as succinct as possible. Mhm. No long storytelling, Healing sentences are not a conversation.
Mhm.
They're a transmission. They're not a conversation. They are a transmission. Mhm. And so, as such, they need to sit with a core truth. Mhm. So, I can think of an example of a man who was very enraged with his father,
Okay,
which is
please do.
fine, and I acknowledge that. And there seemed to be a pattern of the men in the lineage of being angry with each other. And I
Mm.
first started by asking him, "What would you want to say to your father?" He had lots to say. Then I offered him something different, and I said, "Well, just look at your father for a moment." And I said, "I'll offer you something to say, and I want you just to try it on, just to try it, like you're trying on a pair of shoes, just to see, does this fit?" Mhm.
Right.
And I had him say to his father, "Dear father, how I long for you." Very simple,
Mm. Very.
very straightforward, very profound. His whole, his body language, his energy just transformed in one moment,
Right to the core.
right to the core. And instead of having a man in his late 40s standing next to me, I had a wee 9 or 10-year-old boy standing there looking at his papa.
Oh, wow.
And that's what that simple sentence touched. Mhm. And so his anger with his father was the only energy available to him. So the softness and the beauty of his heart simply was not available. And his children were paying the price for that.
Oh my goodness, can you explain for our listeners what that would look like, feel like?
Well, if the main life force energy that you can access is rage with your father, there's not
Mhm.
much space for anything else. Mhm.
Mm. Okay.
And so, how can you flip from feeling rage for your father as the main engine of your emotional motor to being loving and gentle and kind and embracing your own children?
Mm.
That's quite a skill to do that. Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of energy invested in this charade. Mhm.
Right.
A lot invested in being right and being enraged with the father. But when really touching that authentic need through a simple healing sentence that gives him an opportunity to feel something he hasn't felt for a long time. The beauty and the gentleness and the longing of his own heart.
Oh.
And then he has the freedom to redirect that towards his children. So
Mm.
instead of always facing his father with rage, with his kids behind him, not
Mhm.
being able to see him or feel him, it then gives him the opportunity to turn around with his tender heart and look at something different. Mhm.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
And so when the children s see and feel into that after, that of which
Mhm.
he's done and
Mhm.
gone through, it must
Mhm.
be, well, it just gives me goosebumps.
No, no, it's a very profound movement that can take place. Mhm.
Mhm.
And so, in that case, simplicity was the healing. And in my view, it is always the healing simplicity. Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Simplicity is always the healing. Mhm. Mm.
Well, you speak so beautifully about the language of the soul and the mind. The mind, well, it speaks in long, long paragraphs, excuses and heavy intellectualizing, right? So, but the soul is different, and a lot of people don't understand that. So, Shavasi, when
Mm.
when you are standing in the field doing this very deep, beautiful work, what does true, simple soul movement actually look and feel like for you?
Oh, um, those true deep soul movements, invitations, they're not something I create.
Hmm.
Mhm. So it's not really something that I'm doing. It's
Right?
rather I open the space for it to happen.
Mm,
Mhm. I can't push the client down that road. I
right.
simply open the space for it to happen. Mhm. And so there are many moments, or there have been many moments over the 25 years that I've been facilitating, in which something greater enters the room. And I call that grace.
Beautiful.
Some people might call it God. Some people might call it something else. And all these names are just labels, and I call it grace.
Right.
And our job as a facilitator is really to be an empty vessel, Mhm. an empty vessel that surrenders to something greater than ourselves, Mhm. that moves through us, that talks through us. Mhm. And I always know when that's happening because I'm listening intently
Hmm.
to what that is saying. Notice I'm not saying to what I am saying, I'm saying to what that is saying,
Right. Right.
because I'm yet to identify where it comes from. Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the sentences emerge out of nothingness, which has become quite a natural process for me now. But there are moments where I become fully the observer of what's happening, Mhm.
Right.
and where I'm actually in awe of the movement that's just taken place and not taking any credit for it whatsoever, because I know that it was a movement that was far greater than myself, that I could not have done this independently. I
Hmm.
could not have figured out how to do this. I could not have intellectually come up with the right words. I have a natural gift of speaking anyway, but I know in that moment I could not have come up with that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it emerges from somewhere or something that is greater than the whole. Mhm. And so I just surrender to that and allow it to be. And it is always very profound and very magical. And that space always makes itself known because there is a silence that comes about that is exceptionally loud.
Hmm.
It is so loud that everybody can hear it and they cannot avoid hearing it.
Mm.
It's a quality of silence that has both weight and no weight at the same time,
Hmm.
that is both full and empty at the same time, Mhm. that is full of light and nothingness all at the same time. And then that, and I call it that, lifts the space and does the work. And what I notice that when that does happen in a constellation, and it's beautiful, it's like having, I don't know, yogurt with honey. It's just,
Nummy.
it's, it's just exquisite. And when that happens, I find that the group, when we all go and sit down again, instead of instantly going into chit chat as they normally do, they don't.
Oh, interesting.
They stay quiet and they look around the room and they look at each other because they realize, oh, something just happened. I don't know what happened. I don't know what to call it, but something just happened. Mhm. And so for me, simplicity opens the door for that
Beautiful.
to happen. Complexity, long stories, long explanations, it's like fog. It's fog.
Hmm.
That's all it is. It's fog. Mhm. And when we're driving in fog, we can vaguely see a vehicle in front of us. We can vaguely see that there's a tree on the side of the road,
Right.
but we have no real idea where we are.
No.
No, we have no real idea where we are. And then we might be focusing on the vehicle right in front of us because we're following the red light, their tail light. But we have no idea where that vehicle's going either, yet we're blindly following in the
Hmm.
fog, not being able to see any. And so all those words are fog. It's fog and mist, and it's often distraction. Distraction.
Hmm.
So I quite often say to my clients, if they sit in the chair, they start rambling, and I said, what if we're just quiet for a moment? And I'll say to them, just close your eyes for a moment and just look at whatever it might be. Look at your husband or ex-husband, or look at your mother, look at your father, and just what happens in your body. Just breathe. And I start from that place. And then there's more of an entryway into, okay, what's really present here? Mhm.
Mm, mhm.
What's really, really present here? Mhm. Mm, mm. And then they
Right.
have an opportunity to be clearer and more honest about what they're sitting with. Mhm.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You were talking about the fog and in family constellations, I mean, we see how deeply, you know, we are tied to blind loyalty, right? And carrying the
Mhm.
unseen burdens of our mothers, fathers, or ancestors. Why is it so terrifying for our systems to let go of the heavy baggage and choose a simple, happy, sovereign life instead? Why?
Well, let me tell you why. I'll give an example.
Please
And it's an
do.
example, and it's an example from working with a client not so long ago. Mhm.
Okay.
Mm. And I sensed something with her,
Hmm.
mhm, and I just simply asked her the question. I said, "Do you find yourself being very critical?" She said, "Yes," mhm, especially of her partner. Mhm. I said, "So, was your mother very critical?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Oh." I said, "So did you feel that your mother's love was not available to you?" She said, "No, not really." I said, "So you bonded with her criticism instead."
Oh, wow.
So being critical tells you that you belong to your mother.
Mhm.
Now you know that you are her daughter because you've taken on her critical nature, because what you really wanted, the love, didn't seem to be available to you. So
Wow.
you became just like her so that you could affirm and reaffirm that you belong to her. Such is our deep need to belong. We will
Profound.
even replicate destructive, unhealthy, unkind behaviors just to belong. This is a deep ancestral thing because when we were hunters and gatherers,
Mhm,
when we were
mhm.
wandering through Africa and Siberia and the Eurasian steppe, etc., if we were abandoned by our group, we died
Yeah, pretty much. Gone.
pretty much because there was a saber-toothed tiger around the corner watching for a straggler. Mhm. Watching for the one left behind. Mhm. So we survived through cooperation, and so that's become deeply built into our systems. I need to belong in order to survive. Mhm. But we are beyond that evolutionary need, but we have an emotional need to belong. Mhm. But
Mhm.
there are other ways of belonging. Mhm. And so we can give our mothers a place in our hearts. We can know ourselves as our mother's or father's child without replicating their negative traits. Mhm. And so constellation work can help us to reattach and rebond in a healthy way. Mm.
Fascinating, isn't it? I just
Mhm.
find that so fascinating because of the fact you're not actually being loyal to the person, but you're being loyal to their behavior.
Which is about loyalty to the person as well. Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's an
Mhm.
in it
So
it's
I.
the indirect line, or,
Mhm.
indirect connection.
Mhm. So I shall imitate my angry father. Mhm. I
Mhm,
shall imitate my critical mother. Mhm.
mhm.
So when it seems that love is not available to us, we will then attach to whatever is there.
Wow, amazing.
Mm.
Hmm, really amazing. The depths of which we go to belong, right?
Yeah. Sorry about my throat.
Oh, that's okay.
Mm.
No
Mm.
problem. It's
So,
fascinating to me, yeah. Go
mm.
ahead.
So my work is really all about peeling it back
Mhm.
and making it as simple as possible. Mhm. And asking questions. Questions Questions to me are far more important than answers.
Okay.
Far more important, infinitely more important. Because a question can be like a worm that burrows into the system, digging up and revealing things that we didn't know that were there. Mhm.
Mhm.
I've had plenty of clients who have said to me, "Goodness, you've asked me questions that no one has ever asked me before." Mhm. And so what gets revealed with those questions is material that they've never really looked at before. Mhm. And it can be deeply hidden and deeply important.
Oh,
And
for
so
sure.
questions are far more important than the answers. Mhm. Yeah. Mm, mm,
Hmm. I was thinking for someone, you know, sitting at home trying to tune into themselves, right? I was like,
mhm.
how can they tell the difference between the loud, complicated anxiety of the mind and the quiet, simple direction of the soul? Can they?
Well, one question that I ask people, and maybe the listeners can ask themselves this question right now, is if there was one feeling that you have spent your entire life running from, what would it be?
Mm,
Just to sit with that, just one feeling, mhm, and let that be revealed. It doesn't need to be explained. Mhm. People often rush to explain their feelings. They have a feeling
right.
and they immediately escape the feeling. They attempt to escape the feeling by saying, "Oh, well, yeah, that's because this, that." Mhm. So then they immediately go into story. Mhm.
Mhm.
So that then becomes the escape from the feeling. What if you sat with the feeling? Mhm. Sometimes somebody might say to me, if I stay with this feeling too long, I'm afraid it could kill me, that I might die.
Oh my goodness.
And I'll say to them, then go ahead and die. Because
Okay.
the deeper question is, who or what dies in the process? And I
Mm,
can tell you what dies. Everything that you've constructed to defend against that feeling and to hide that feeling away, that will die. And that's freedom and that's liberation. Mhm.
wow.
Mhm.
Interesting in a way that I'm wondering, Shavasti, with regards to if the person, you know, wants to run or does run from that feeling, how do they sit with it if they keep, like at one point, do you actually feel into it? Feel into the feeling, right? Like if you're frozen, traumatized, how do you get to that feeling?
I think it's very difficult to work through this alone.
Mhm.
We have to reach out for help. We have to
Yeah.
be held and guided. Mm.
Mhm.
So, Hmm. so this would be an opportunity for those people who feel that they have to do everything on their own and do it for themselves
Right?
to actually reach out and say, please help me. Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's an opportunity to do that. And my other experience with these deep feelings, and there have been studies, I did read a study a number of years ago. Please don't ask me what the study was and where I found it, but I've read it a couple of times and I found it to be true, is that when we touch that deep place of core wound,
Mhm.
where it feels like I'm just going to die if I touch that, it rarely lasts for longer than 26 minutes.
Wow. Wow.
There have been studies done and it's over.
Oh my goodness, really? That's amazing.
So we hold it in place. We hold it in place tightly, 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 tightly. And it takes a lot of life force energy, sorry, to hold that in place.
Mhm.
Can you imagine how much energy it takes to hold that in place?
A lot, and for many
So
years, right?
it's maybe been there since you were 4 or 5 years old or
Right.
younger, and it keeps on coming up again. And then it came up again with your first love. Then it came up again with your first relationship. Then it came up again the day your dad left, or it came up again whenever it was, and tight, 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 tight. And so another question that I ask clients is, mhm, if you had all of the energy that you are using to hold this thing that you do not want to feel in place, if that what energy was available to you right now, what could you do with your life? What could you create?
Mhm.
So if 50 or 60% of your life force energy is being employed to keep this thing deeply hidden, unfelt, deeply buried, what would your life look like if that 50% was suddenly available to you? If you could
Mhm.
suddenly use it for something else, your creativity, to write that book that you've always wanted to write, to design that dress you've always wanted to design, to learn how to pilot a plane, to create a company, whatever it might be, whatever creative outlet. Hmm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm.
Amazing.
To live with more joy, to actually feel the people around you.
Mhm.
Because when we're not feeling ourselves, it's really difficult to feel other people.
Oh, totally. Nobody's home. Gone.
Yeah,
Right?
there's
Gone.
no one home. So if you're not in intimate relationship with yourself, then how can you possibly be in intimate relationship with someone else? Mhm.
Mhm.
So so this process is really about releasing the grip. Mhm. And so what I find is that many people enter family constellation work with a strategy. If only I can do enough constellations to make the problem go away without me ever feeling it.
Mm.
And that can become a strategy for some people.
Mhm.
Another constellation, another constellation, another constellation, another constellation. Let me sort out another generation. Mhm,
Right. Yep,
mhm.
exactly right. Mhm.
And so constellation work, obviously I do it because I believe in the work,
Mhm.
but constellation work can become its own saboteur. Mhm. It can turn into the thing that avoids the healing.
Right.
It can become the thing that avoids the truth. Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm. Well,
Mm.
and run from one constellator to the other, right? To keep the story
Oh,
going.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Let's
Yeah.
keep it going.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I mean, I was
Yeah.
thinking,
Let me
you
find the constellator who will confirm my story exactly as I've told it. Mhm.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then keep paying for it
Mhm.
in many ways, right?
Right.
Not
You
just
know?
one way. Yeah. I was gonna ask you if we were, to strip away all the complicated jargon and the endless modalities and the noise,
Mhm.
what are the most basic essential ingredients a person actually needs to finally just drop the systemic backpack that they've been carrying?
Safety. They need to feel safe.
Ah.
They need to feel welcome.
Mhm.
They need to feel held. Mhm.
Beautiful.
And I want to be clear about something here. All of
Sure.
these strategies that I'm talking about, not just what they are doing, it's what we do. I mean, I've done them too. So I'm
Mhm.
not sort of sitting here pointing fingers at all of my present and previous clients. I know all this stuff because I've observed myself doing it myself.
Right.
You know,
Right.
um, so so I fall back to what did I need? I needed to feel safe. I needed to feel held. Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. I needed to feel that I wasn't with a healer, therapist, or facilitator that was communicating, unless you can make this movement, then you have failed in some way.
Okay.
Because that can be communicated in either direct or indirect ways.
Oh, for
Hmm.
sure. Absolutely.
Hmm. Hmm.
Absolutely. Very
And I
much
often
so.
communicate with clients and I say to them, I don't mind if you have to come back here 100 times. I'm always available to you.
Mhm.
It's about finding your time when you're ready. hmm And so there's no measurement of performance. There's no
Mhm.
competition. Mhm.
Right.
It's just about an invitation to be present. And each person does what they can do in the moment. Mhm. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very
So
interesting.
the simplicity can be, let's just sit with each other for a moment. And that's it. That can
Mhm.
be the start of the conversation. Me looking at the client and just inviting them to sit with me for a moment. Mhm. And then in that moment, we just sit there authentically without masks as a presence of love and acceptance for who they are. And then
Mhm.
that engenders safety, a sense of safety. And then we
Absolutely.
can work from that space.
Yeah, something they probably haven't maybe ever felt,
Mhm.
right? Or if they did, they don't remember because it's so way back, right? So way back. Yeah,
Of course,
safety.
there are some clients, of course, that find that very difficult to metabolize
Mhm.
because they've never had anyone hold that space for them before. They don't know what it is. It's quite foreign to them. Mhm.
Hmm,
So
beautiful.
there are some clients who've never found that place of love and inclusion and safety and gentleness, even in the therapist room.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mhm. Even in the constellation space, they still haven't found it.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
It's interesting, I was gonna ask you, because I had this situation come up for me where I was approached by someone to work with them, and I had to really it's about when I felt a little bit of a trigger in me, I couldn't work with them because I knew I would be re-triggering them, right?
right. Okay.
So
Mhm.
I passed on, you to, whether they could connect with you or not. But yeah, and I just sometimes I just know from my own inner self and integrity that it just would have not been a good thing to do. You know?
Right. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I just wonder, do you find that sometimes other constellators, whether known or not, that they will still work with somebody even if they're triggered?
Oh, I can't really speak for other
No,
constellators.
no, no.
I would have to be there to observe it, but I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um, um, I don't.
No.
Um, yeah. Um, it's not often that I've actually had to tell somebody I'm not going to work with you.
Mhm.
Um, I had to be quite direct with a client maybe 3 or 4 years ago now,
Mhm.
and I just said to her, I said, "Oh, there seems to be a little bit of a misunderstanding here."
Okay.
And she said, "Oh, what?" And I said, "Well, you seem to be under the impression that you've paid me to be your punching bag,
Oh.
and that's not." I said, "That's not my role."
Mhm. Mhm.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I get
yeah.
it.
She came into the session very angry,
Mhm.
accused me of all sorts of things within the first 5 minutes of the session. And I'm
Wow.
like, this has got nothing to do with me.
Right.
Mhm. It's okay with me as the session progresses if somebody says to me, I feel uncomfortable with how you worded that.
Mhm. Right.
Then I can pull back and just say, okay, tell me more. And then we can work with that. So there are some people who are just looking, I'm very sorry,
All
just
good.
looking for someone to blame.
Mhm. Oh, for sure. Like you say, punching bag, right? Like, it's, like, right out of
Yeah,
the gate. It's like a horse race, it's right out of the gate. You know,
yeah,
attack. Yeah.
yeah. So that happens within the first couple of minutes of a session. I'm like, okay, I know enough to this. It's got nothing to do with me. Mhm,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
mhm, mm,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, our time is coming to a close here
Mhm,
for this session anyway, with regards to, but we'll be doing another one. But I wanted to ask you on this closing question
mhm.
for the person right now at home listening to this, and there will be many who feels completely overwhelmed with, their journey and it's really at a point maybe ready to give up, Shavasti. What is one simple truth or practice they can anchor into their nervous system today to stop overcomplicating their life?
When we really slow down,
Mm,
and like truly slow down and get quiet, then we can touch what has always been present, and that's love.
mm,
It's always been there
mm,
in the background, silent. So when we step out of the almost literal insanity of the mind,
mhm,
trying to figure out everything, trying to figure out whether we're worthy of love or not, it's there and it's always has been there. hmm hmm And so everyone who is here belongs here. Everyone who is here has the right to be here. There's no question about that.
mhm,
No matter how your life came about, no matter who created you, and how you were created, none of that matters. You're here, and therefore you have every right to be here, and you have value just in yourself. Mhm. Just in yourself. And when we really get quiet and we strip away all of the stories, then we can start to feel and experience what has always been there. And
mm,
that is the underlying fabric of life itself, which is love and the bond of love. And that can be felt everywhere and anywhere. Mhm. And when humans are not available to us, then trees and plants and animals and nature is available to us. It's all there and always has been there. Mhm.
mhm,
Sometimes I catch myself just staring at a blade of grass or an individual pebble. Mhm. And I thought to myself, if this blade of grass was the only thing in existence in the entire universe,
mhm,
I would be on my hands and knees, prostrating myself in front of it, worshipping its life force energy.
yeah, exactly. Mm,
So everything is precious, including ourselves. Mhm. And that's what needs to be recognized.
mm, beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I'm
You're
so
welcome.
honored. I'm so honored and so grateful to you for coming on to Collie Talks again, and we'll have to do it again because I know I know our listeners, because my audience is now your audience, so there will be input from this as well. So, and again, for people wanting to reach you, how can they reach you?
Familyconstellations.net.
Hmm.
Familyconstellations.net. The .net bit is really important because the dot everything else is someone else. So I'm the .net, familyconstellations.net, or
Okay.
Shavasti.com, or Shavasti.com.
Okay.
And I can be found, I've got a Facebook group, a Family Constellations International Facebook group, and I've got an Instagram account called Shavasti, by the way, and a YouTube channel called Shavasti, by the way. If you know my name, you can find me. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
and I will, as always, I will be, promoting it. I believe this will be published next weekend, so I will send you the link, and you can send it out to all your people, and I will promote it heavily because the world, as we are known to be in this state of whatever is going on, we need you, Shabasti. So thank you so
Thank
much
you
for.
very much, Collie, and I look forward to being without a cough the next time I
Oh,
come to
it's
you.
okay. This is
Yeah,
this is all about, I do things raw and real. So
right.
so it's all good, it's all good.
Yes.
So,
Raw and real. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
dokie.
So keep well and keep love, and I will be in touch with you, and I can't thank you enough, but I do thank you from the bottom and top of my heart and soul.
Thank you very much, colleague.
Thank you. Lots
Take
of
care.
love,
Bye bye.
Shavasti.
Ciao.
Bye bye.
Ciao.